every little dirty fantasy he had of me. Every time he'd see me, he got to just actualize. And he seemed to be dead. In his eyes, it's as if he just had no feeling at all. It's as if he wasn't connected into the human self to realize or even see that I'm somebody's child, and that what he's doing is not only wrong but spiritually demonic on every level. And I just cried. And I remember just telling God in that moment, I don't know what I've done. I really, really don't think I've treated anybody badly. I've never disrespected or hurt people intentionally for me to deserve this kind of treatment. Hello everybody, my name is Shyro Ogolla. As some of you may already know my story, if you got to watch part 1 of my story, I got to share about the whirlwind that was my childhood, all the traumas that I endured, the physical, mental and emotional abuse, living and surviving in different homes, not having my mother who just had me at 14 years old. At some point, I thought that I was already getting into a better space, but absolutely had no idea that my life was headed for the worst. I had no idea what was gonna come, in the next chapter and in the next season of my life. And here it goes. So at this point, I'm 16 years old. I'm done with my KCSE. I've gone back to Joyland to get my brother out of that boarding school so quickly. And we're still living together, my dad paying the bills, catering for our rent, our food and all that. And I, of course, hustling and grinding, doing the odd jobs I did to survive. My relationship with my mother at this point is non-existent. One thing I remember very well is back then at some point, there's a time in school I wrote my mom a letter and my dad another letter. So I wrote them 2 separate letters. And in one letter, I was basically praising my dad, telling him how much I loved him, thanking him for, taking me in, raising me, taking me to school, doing, A, B, and C for me, and just emphasizing on the fact that he was the best dad and the best parent ever. And on the other letter, I was cussing out my mom. I told her how much I hated her, how much I wish she wasn't my mother, because sometimes I literally would be wishing someone else, was just my mom. I didn't get why she was so angry and bitter and unloving towards me. And so I'm just saying that to create an idea of probably how bitter she must have been with me, as well as a child. Like, how dare I give birth to you? I bring you into this world. I give birth to you on a carton and I almost died and have suffered because of you, and you can say that to me. So that's also her mind frame. And then you choose this other person over me. So without forgetting what I mentioned in terms of what was said to me, her going to court and just signing us off and just walking away like we were nothing. I'm also bitter because I'm wondering what kind of a mother, would just up and leave her kids like that and not even fight. Even if you have issues with your other significant, your other partner, like, why would you not fight? And it's also little words and thoughts and things that were planted in my head. For example, there's a woman who is a very close friend of my mom, and I'll get to explain what happened with her in coming days. This person was basically kind of like my mom's best friend at some point. And so she was very religious, a churchgoer, very different from my mom. And so when this happened, I remember her telling me, Shyro, If I was your mom, I would never ever leave my kids behind, even if all we have in the house is just water and sugar, and that's the most I can provide for you because this man won't provide anymore. I'd rather even have my kids drink the water with sugar, but I will crawl these streets and survive to the end with my kids. And I think when you hear an older person, an older woman saying that to you and painting that picture of how she would fight for her kids, and I'm talking about somebody who literally, while we had a good life, this woman was our family friend but living in the ghetto. Like her kid was, like she was living such a such a lesser life compared to what I had. I seem to have so much privilege compared to her, but they're struggling and suffering so much. But she's painting for me a picture of, how she'd rather even die with her kids till the end. So that builds so much remorse and anger, resentment towards my mom, because I'm like, what is it about me that has never been good enough for you? And at some point also thinking, probably you're right. You probably should have just aborted me. I didn't choose to be here. You are the one who's the parent and I'm the child. And so I think also it comes with entitlement, because as a kid, I'm thinking that you're the adult. You need to have it together. It's not my responsibility to have it together for you. And then also just noting how you're leaving a kid here, another one here, another one here. Like it just rubbed me the wrong way. And so my relationship with my mom is non-existent at this point. However, since we're still living in Ngong and not so far away from the house we used to live in, I would literally bump into my mom on the road sometimes. I'm walking and I bump into her and we peter each other, just cross each other like we do not know each other. That is how bitter we were with each other. Like we would pass each other and she's just sizing me. And recently she was laughing and reminding me, those days when you used to just pass me like I'm nothing. And my heart would be so broken because I'm wondering, what kind of a child did I give birth to? Like, how do you not even have the respect of just stopping and saying hi to your mother? And someone would ask me that, isn't that your daughter? Why isn't she saying hi? But you see, that's her perspective. Mine was, I'm passing you because you're so stone cold. You just look like you want nothing to do with me. So on one hand, my version of this story is that I didn't even think my mom would want to talk to me. I used to think if I see her and I go say hi, she probably will just slap me and just tell me, you went to that man, you might keep going. And for her, it's that, why isn't this kid even just stopping? Everybody's stuck in their own imagination, viewing this whole situation from a different perspective. And the other thing is that I knew this one version of court and how things went, but her version was also very different. Her version was, this man threatened me and told me that I have money. You have nothing. Those were her words to me. This man said to me, Purity, you have nothing. You have no education, no family, no background. I have the money and I can destroy you if I want to. And please don't forget that my mom is probably 27, 28, 29 at most at the time. And I'm around the same age. So I'm trying to put myself in her shoes and think, would I have the audacity or the guts to go against this kind of man who has it all together? And it seems with the influence he had, he could have literally just messed her up in any way he wanted. And so I now understand the fear that she had, that it was much easier to just walk away. Another thing was that our name, by our name I mean mine and hers, were ruined so much in our home area. And that still remains until today as I sit here and share this story. My mom and I were accused of sleeping with my dad. There were talks in our community that that lady is just a drunkard. Everybody knew her as just a drunkard, an alcoholic, because her drinking was, very evident. It's full-blown alcoholism at that point. And because of my dad, taking me out on dates and always hanging with me and how close we were, people will talk. Don't forget I mentioned that I've always been bigger than my age. And at that point, I was actually really huge. By the time I cleared high school, I was 106 kgs. I was pretty obese, by the way, if you see my photos from back then. So people used to look at me not as a teenager. People thought I was older than my age. And so they'd say in Swahili, ule mwanamke wachana na yeye tu, mtoto wake hata si analalanga na babake. In fact, the man left the woman for the daughter. She even raises the small boy. Who knows, probably even that child is hers. So there were all these things being said, some things even said to my face. And there was a family friend who had a daughter that was in the same school as me at some point in high school. And she would go spreading certain rumors in regards to that. And one day I fought her, you know? I fought her and I was just fed up. And so it built more anger on my mom, towards my mom, because I didn't even think she realized how much her messing up was getting me so involved and entangled in things I had no business, you know, being involved in. People talking about me in that kind of light and way at that age, it destroyed me. The moments my brother would be so depressed and he's crying, calling out for my mom, I tried at some point to see whether I could try and like do the whole TV thing that I see, co-parenting, you know, just kids having a relationship with both their parents from a distance. But my dad shut down that story so fast. Reason being, now we move forward. I'm out of high school and we spend another year out, you know, with just my brother doing our thing. And now 2013 approaches and my dad wants to run for a political seat. And for his own, you know, due to his own, you know, thinking, reasons and whatever it was, because I could give reasons on his behalf, but I'll never 100% understand why. But basically what I knew and thought was that he wanted to give this whole picture perfect, put together family. And so he comes one day unannounced to the house and is like, I want you to move in with my family. I want you and your brother to move in with my wife and with your brothers. Now, I knew this was a terrible idea from the get-go. Reason being, she had said something like, I can take the boy, at least he's your son and he's your blood, but I don't want the girl. 2, I am the daughter of the young woman that came to destroy his marriage. So I'm the daughter of the clan of his clan. So why, as a woman, I now get it. Like, why do I want my husband's clan's child, who's not even his blood, you know, living in my home? So I knew she wanted nothing to do with me. And I know what it feels like to not be wanted in a space. So why am I trying to force myself into someone else's space? But you see, my father at this point is thinking about giving his son a more stable environment. His wife had also just given birth and had another child, another boy, who's a year younger than my brother. So my brother would have had at least somebody who's around his age to play with, you know, do his thing with, has a home where, you know, food, goes to school, shelter. I think probably he genuinely was thinking it could work, but I knew it wasn't, and my instincts were very right. So I tried begging my dad to not let, you know, that be the decision he makes. And he gave me an ultimatum and was like, you either move in, pack up the house, we're moving, or I'm going to take your brother and I'm moving in with him and moving him, and you can find a way to live on your own. And so you can imagine I'm scared because I don't know, you know, what I'm going to do alone without my dad's support. And then I can't abandon my brother. I know what it's like to be abandoned. So that was a very key thing over the years, that I can't just up and leave my brother. What is he going to think, that his mother abandoned him, now his sister is also leaving him? So I humbled myself and off we went. And we moved in with the family. And oh my goodness, I will never forget that first day. Oh, I already knew I'd been set up. This is gonna be bad. I went there, you know, all the sons are there, the wife is there, everybody's just being cordial, we're all trying to be respectful, but you can see and feel the side eye type of energy of these are that person's kids, you know, kwani what happened? So it was terrifying, it was lonely, it was sad, I felt judged, I felt disliked. The niece to this woman was one of the meanest people I knew. We never got along from day one. And I just felt like because my dad also didn't live there, he was now living in Busia, which is where he's from. And at the time, he was trying to build his hotel and the business there while getting into politics. So he doesn't even spend time here to actually know what's really happening. What he trusts is that I've entrusted these kids to my wife. So, you know, everything should be fine. And one thing he always said, he used to say is that, you know, I believe if anybody cannot live with this woman, they can't live with anybody. And at first I tried to believe that. And I used to think it's true that probably the fact that I'm unable to live with her, I'm the problem. But please, come on. I came to realize, you know, that's not true. There's no truth in that. It doesn't mean she's the picture perfect, you know, plant or manifestation of how somebody should be judged in terms of their character and personalities. People are different and not everyone will like the other. So my relationship with her was very just respectful. There was, of course, a lot of tension. She received my brother very well, and that is something I'm very grateful to her for. She received my brother very well. She always has treated him till date, because he still lives with her and with them. Took him on like her own son, and just embraced a good relationship between him and the younger brother and herself. And she stepped up and she became the mom that he didn't have, you know? And that is something I acknowledge truly. However, my relationship with her was not the same. Just trying to do my duties, do my chores, live respectfully and not cross anybody's boundaries. But that wasn't gonna be, you know, long-lived. In 2013, now October, the first Sunday of October, which kind of manifested my dislike for Octobers. However, I'm learning to pray about that and change my mindset. You know, something happened and I was in the kitchen preparing the kids for church and trying to make breakfast. And she just walked in and she just blew up on me. She blew up on me. And now that I think about it, she had her own issues, so many different issues, whether with me, with my dad, or other people. And around the same time, my dad had just decided to marry another young girl from the Boda, from that side, Busia, Uganda border, at the same time. And I'm sure, thinking of it now as a woman, it must have really triggered her, and triggered her heavy. Because here comes you bringing me kids, and I'm raising you kids from outside, and I've been a good wife. I've held you down from back then, because they literally came from the village back, you know, in their homeland to Nairobi together, and still you continue to do the same thing. So it must have been a shocker for her. And so I feel like that morning she had so much of her own issues, and she ended up just blasting them out on me, projecting on me. And she touched on a very sensitive subject, because in between, you know, the going on and venting, she brought up the whole issue of me being brought into that household and being an outsider, and my mom. And anybody who knows me for sure can tell you, my mom has always been the most sensitive subject for me. Like, talk about anything else, insult me. But the moment you touch on my mom, like, I'm ready to fight. Like I'm throwing it down. And in that moment, I just remember thinking to myself, this is insane. This is not it. Like, I am done. I'm fed up. I'm tired. I'm done. These people look down on me every time I'm talking about my music or need space. I want to go to the studio, I want to do this or that or that. There's always one issue after the other. And for some reason, I seem to always be the problem. So you know what? I might as well leave. And let me tell you, that is how I moved out of my father's house. I walked out, I ran using the back kitchen door, out the gate, and I was gone. And I ran, and I remember I went to see a woman who's an auntie of mine, and I talked to her, and I just told her what had happened. And I was just crying, and I was a mess. And I was like, what am I going to do? I've left my brother in that house. There is no way at all that I'm going to be able to get him out. And where am I going, first of all, let alone where am I taking him? And now that I've made the step and I've run out, I can't undo it. Even my own pride and ego won't allow it. Like, I'm out at you, I'm coming back to beg you. No. So she advised me and was like, you know what, with these two things you've been doing on the side, because I was pretty good with my finances and I'd been saving up, try and figure out how you can start up. There are people who've started their lives, even people who are younger than you, and they've been able to get themselves together. So you can do it. And so I got a cab guy that I knew around the area. We went back to the house. I packed my things, I put them in the cab. The woman wasn't there, but her kids were there. And I just held my brother, I hugged him, I kissed him, and I told him, I'm not leaving you. This is not me abandoning you. I'll be back. You've seen what has happened. Because when that whole incident happened, like, everybody came running to the kitchen to see what was happening, including the workers. So I'm not leaving you, just hang in there. And my brother just cried and held on to me and just told me, don't leave me. I told him, I promise I'm not leaving you, but I have to go for now. I'll be back. And I went crying because that feeling was familiar again. The watching, that person that is your person walking away, and you're left with these people that you're not so familiar with. I was just seeing myself as a child in him and just feeling exactly what I used to feel as a kid on his behalf. But I left. God was faithful. And I insist that somehow, the dots are always connected. Because miraculously, with all these projects I was doing on the side in studios and all that, there's a particular project that I had done at this company and label, and they were so impressed by it that I was put on the lineup with a different guy in the industry that I was working with to continue the project for Margaret Kenyatta, our first lady at the time. And that opened doors for me. I got to travel with them, and this was a project behind the Beyond Zero initiative, for those who remember the project. And this particular project started opening so many doors for me to be able to find so much more work in the music business, from production into performing, and just, earning my own living. And I was able to, I was homeless at some point, but God was good, and I was able to get my own apartment. I got my own cupboard seater somewhere. I bought my mattress, I got a bed, I started buying small things, and at least I had a roof over my head and somewhere to call home. Because in between that whole journey that I've explained so far, there were moments when my dad and I, things had gotten so bad that he'd actually kicked me out, and I would be sleeping in the studio, and I have nowhere to go. And then we're cool, and I'm back, and it was just all that, lack of stability. So finally I have my own little apartment, and then it's my first house, and I'm so excited. I'm like, oh God, finally I'm doing it. Mark you, I'm still just a kid. I'm still young, and I'm trying to understand what this independence is about. And so I started living on my own. I got my life together. And it didn't even take long. You know, like the way some people hustle for so long to be able to like even furnish their house and like get everything together. This happened for me so quickly. I think by like 2 weeks, I believe I was completely settled. Like anybody who walked into my home would have thought I'd been living, alone for the longest time. I was very disappointed by the fact that my relationship with my step family had become so bad that I wasn't even able to see my brother. I wanted to see my brother. I remember hitting somebody in our family and letting them know, like, I don't want to come and see all this. And this person is like, with the way you left and the way things are, it's, difficult. And so the longer I'm not seeing my brother, I'm more worried that he might be thinking I just disappeared. At this point, I have burnt bridges, it seems like, in every aspect. I left my mom, non-existent relationship there. The people I left her for, or the person I left her for, let's say person because it was my dad, not his family. Now, my dad literally and I have no relationship. He was so bitter and so angry with me. And I'll never forget that text he wrote me and the call he made to me and telling me, how dare you? I introduce you to my family. They open their doors to you. They embrace you. That was the picture in his head. They opened up, they embraced you. They did, we did. And then you just up and leave like that. But you see, in my mind, I'm like, were you even there to realize what was happening? Because she didn't just wake up and blow on me. This was, an accumulation of so many different things. And finally, she found the right moment and chance to vent her feelings. And I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling isolated. But to be honest, I'm a bit happy that I can breathe again. And it seems to be a repetitive cycle of so much heat, what, and I feel choked, and then something happens. I'm now feeling like I can breathe. Before now, I can prepare again for the next hustle and tussle. From the moment like I'd mentioned, from my young years, but now at this point it was a bit more, I struggled with bulimia. So food had become the thing I used to cope. I'm stressed, I just want to eat and snack. I'm feeling sad, I just want to eat and snack. And by being bulimic, for those who might not know, what happens is that you want to gorge on so much food and just eat your feelings away. Then because you're uncomfortable, and then I was so insecure when it came to my weight and how I looked and all that, I'd go and force myself to throw up. So I'm just eating, but it's not food that I'm eating to replenish my system or help my body. I'm just eating to like punish myself in a way, because to some degree I feel like I probably am cursed or I'm a problem, and that's why nobody can seem to make it work with me. So I'm eating to punish myself until I feel sick, and then I vomit and I force myself to vomit some more and more and more and more. And with also addiction cycles, what you do is whatever substance you're abusing or whatever you do to please your body and to please yourself, you're releasing dopamine, a chemical from your brain, which will just give you moments of feeling good until you need the next fix, And that was how I used to, fix myself, for lack of a better word. I was so sad that now I no longer can see this boy and I don't have a relationship with them. So to actually fix that, I decided I'm going to manipulate my way into this situation. You see, typically, and I am not sorry for saying this because this is something I have noticed with us as human beings. Bring money into the equation. Your relationship with people will be good. In fact, think about it, and I always say this. Most times when somebody is telling you they're stressed, unless it's a severe, serious issue that has messed up with their mental health that's happening, most times than not, a lot of people say, I'm stressed, I don't have money. I'm stressed because I haven't paid fees, or I don't have rent, or I don't know how to shop for, I don't have money to shop for food. I don't know how I'll start this business, all that. But bring money into the equation, your relationship with people is going to be good. And so I'm doing so well at this point. I'm making such crazy money that I have never touched in my life. And so I'm upgrading. God is really lifting me. And so I knew that these people were also going through some hard times. But at the same time, I think it's just in my nature that I was brought up being reminded the importance of just being kind to people. And just because somebody has slapped you on one side of the cheek, you don't just go slapping them. The Bible talks about how you turn, the other cheek. And I really believed all that so much that I thought it should be literal. Like, anybody treats me badly, I'm just supposed to shower them with kindness so that, they can like me. Don't forget the people pleaser in me because of abandonment and rejection. I just want to be liked and accepted. And so I figured that it seems like they need help because they were in some serious, they just started getting into some serious financial crisis from the moment our dad got into politics. And that went sideways so quick, and he lost so much money, and he'd invested so many things that I believe he shouldn't have, and put the wrong things in the wrong place. And so I was in a position to help them out. And so I started helping out, with bills and stuff, helping pay for fees. And from the moment I realized that when I'm helping out, they treat me differently, I think I figured, okay. So all I just need to do is just pour money when it's needed, and you'll be nicer, or I'll get to see my brother. That's not a problem. I will do what I can. And when you think about it, it's manipulative of me as well. And basically, I'm just buying a relationship. So there's no relationship there. Might be mean to say, but it's the truth. I honestly didn't really care. Like, I really did not care, because I knew I wasn't even liked from day one. So I had no business trying to create what relationship there. So I just needed to be respectful but present so that I could build my relationship with my brother. And the thing I feared the most was my brother growing up to hate me or resent me like I did my mom. That was like a huge thing for me. And so I am helping out. I'm doing the thing I can. Everyone seems to be nice and all that, of course. And so my life just kept moving forward. At least now I can visit from time to time, see my brother. I'm performing, I'm making music, I'm traveling. And something interesting is that from the outside, I looked like I was now headed for the dream. Everybody was looking at me and just seeing like, this girl is a star. And that's how people treated me, like she's headed for it. Now I've switched from using food as a coping mechanism, becoming, a young woman. And so, of course, I was very conscious of my looks, my weight, all that. I'm performing. So there's a way, in the creative industry, let's be honest, there are certain looks that are more acceptable. And as much as some people might find it a bit iffy when I say it, it's really, really the truth. There's also some favoritism that comes with your skin complexion. So I think I also had it a bit easier in some spaces where I felt more accepted. They feel like you're more suitable for certain jobs, certain platforms, the camera and all that. I was put together from the outside, and I lost all these weight from 106 kgs to like 62 kgs. I lost so much weight. Now, I got to also learn people will talk you regardless, because from being called a pig, being called Bobo Shanti, which was a nickname people gave me, Kamave, Kafatso, all those names people would give me. Now the talk in town was that I was sick. So people were speculating that I had HIV. And so it would go back to like the community of people are in our home area. It would be that chick, you know, her mom is so and so, and she's a drunkard, and she was linked to so and so, who is linked to so and so and so and so and so and so. It's like one big bedroom. And so that child we hear was sleeping with her father. She must have HIV. And it broke me. It really, really broke me. Because I was like, I thought people wanted me to be skinny because I was really thin. Like, again, with addiction, like you never know when you're overdoing it. So I delved into the gym. I would work out so much that I became a gymaholic, if there's something like that. Let me tell you something. I would wake up, go to Ngong Hills, running the hills in the morning from like 5:30. I do my run. I go back. I go to the gym to lift weights and or do whatever classes that are there. Then go home, shower, have my day, going on. In the evening, I'm back at the gym. I do an aerobics class with other women, and then I join the men for weightlifting. To the point that my body was just now giving up on me. And that's the point I started developing osteoarthritis. Because now with all this weight that's now gone, and then the overworking of my ligaments, joints and all that, I started tearing, like my synovial fluid was running out, and the corrosion that was happening in the corroding in my knees and all that. So my knees would be swelling, and now I developed osteoarthritis. Now I have new problems, but I'm still nganganaying in the gym. One day I came from the gym and then I fainted. And it's because I'm denying myself food. I'm working out like that, but I'm so obsessed with the gym that all I'm having every day is just a vegetable smoothie. I'm working out that crazy, but all I'm drinking are just blended skooma, spinach with carrots, tomatoes, bananas, and all that. Because I just want to look a certain way. And I'm obsessed because I want to become a star. The music industry, the people who are trying to sign me, the people who are trying to get me into the secular industry, the pop industry. You're being told, look at the Beyoncés and the Rihannas, look at Tiwa Savage, look at how they look. And I'm believing that my body has to be at its best. I have to look as good as these people on social media. And so my gallery is just obsessive photos of diets and plans and how to make sure I look like this, how to, get abs, how to, all that nonsense. Because you'll have to be half naked at the end of the day. And that's what was sold into my young mind. You get on stage, there's a way I used to dress that at some point I'm even ashamed. I was very, very ratchet and skimpy. So now I shift from food and bulimic tendencies into now being a gym rat and being an obsessive person when it came to my weight and all that and working out. So fast forward, I just remember from the outside I'm good, but every time I go home, I'm always crying on my carpet. I'm crying out to God and I'm asking God, why don't I have anybody to celebrate some things with? I've probably had a really amazing week. Like the time would be touring with the First Lady. I wished I had moments to take, those video moments with her and share them. You'd want your mother or your father to be watching you performing for the president, opening the terminal, or that you're linked to spaces that people your age don't even seem to be accessing. And I had access to certain spaces that just blew my mind. But now the other thing became that, and my dad mentioned this at some point when I saw him, we never met much or talked much, but one time we met for coffee and he told me, I hear people are saying that you sleep with white men for money. And he asked me that to my face. Because now the thing is, people don't understand, how are you making that much money? She's a hoe. She's a hoe. There's no way you're living alone at that age, you're making that much money, you're helping pay fees, you're even footing bills. And then don't forget, some of their kids are older than me, still living at home. And I'm out there doing my thing. And then I'm a girl. These are boys. so still dependent on their parents. Of course, there's some level of jealousy, malice that's going to come from it. And stories about how I must be sleeping around, or I'm probably a prostitute and I lie. And then people don't have some respect for the music industry, to be honest. Because it seems to be that unless you're as famous as Nyashinsky, Sauti Sol, Calligraph Jones, we don't know you like in that popular pop sense. You're not like a well-known artist with a hit song. But people don't understand there are two very different industries in Kenya. When you talk about the pop scene and the jazz scene, I was in the jazz scene, And so I heard people talk about how, I must be doing shady things. I'm a prostitute. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. It depressed me even more. I have nobody to share these successes with. But God was faithful. I was able to take myself to school. And I did a program to be able to study more in regards to music, the music business, music industry, performance, stage performance, which is my love, my first love in the music category. That was great. I really appreciate that. But I wasn't really ready for what was going to unravel, because fast forward, I graduate in January of 2016. And I'm thinking that, everything is calm. I'm just doing my thing, going through life like, the way I woke up today, and all I could do is just pray and tell God, get me here safely and back home safe, and bless my day. I wake up, this is now October 2016, the first Sunday, and I always forget whether it's the second or the third in terms of dates, but the first Sunday of October 2016, I woke up very normally. I was a bit late because the previous night, which was a Saturday night, I'd been in studio. That was at the Ngong Race Course, and I was there till late, worked till late, so I got home late. I had a session on this Sunday morning that was supposed to be in Karen with a certain producer that I won't name. And I just called this guy who was my rider, and I told him, yo, I need you to take me somewhere because I'm running late. So please just come, pick me up and take me. And I didn't really quite think anything of that day. I just thought it's normal. He'll come pick me, take me to the studio. This is somebody I've known for a long time. I trust him. He's been my rider for a long time. Every time I need something done, he gets it done. If I need to send him for an errand, even for my brother, like, he delivers and he never disappointed. Tip him when I can. I thought we had a good relationship. But what I'd missed was that I think a week or two prior, this man had called me very randomly, asking me to join him at a concert that was going to be headed by Romain Virgo, the dancehall artist. He was coming to perform at the KICC. And so when he asked me, I shut him down very fast because I thought it was pretty disrespectful. I'm like, you're just my rider. Like, know your boundaries. We're not even friends. And I feel like most people need to learn the difference and compartmentalizing where to place and categorize people, which is something I'm also still learning to do over time. So when he picked me, this man, let's say we're going downhill and we're supposed to take a right to head to Karen. This man just, delved into a different path. And I just asked him, like, yo, where are we going? We're supposed to be going this way. And he casually told me, don't worry. I'm just picking something here. I'm not going to take too long. And then, I'll take you to the studio. And I didn't think much of it. So I'm just on my phone trying to text this person and tell them that I'm going to be there soon. He, rides to a particular place, familiar in the same hood, and gets off the bike. So I'm expecting that he's gonna go in and pick whatever he's picking. But this man just chucks a knife and puts the knife on my throat. And he's like, shuka. So at first I thought it was a joke. And I casually just told him, wewe, watch your jokes. Nini April Fool's ilipita. He slapped me. and just asked me, do I look like I'm joking? And there's that moment of fear, like where you're juggling your thoughts between, is this serious or is this a prank? Should I be waiting for cameras to come out or something? And he just got me off the bike. I was down and he held me by my throat and he just whooped me. And he dragged me into the gate. And I remember the house was, the place we entered into, the houses were kind of shaped in a semicircle. So on two sides are houses made of brick. But the one connecting, at the end, connecting these two different sides is made of mabati. And so there was nobody around. I didn't see anyone. We enter, he locked the gate and pushed me into this particular house at the end, the one made of mabati, and he just turned on the system. And so if you think about it, when you're blasting music in a house made of mabati, that the tremor makes even more noise. So if you're outside, I believe he did that so that anybody on the outside cannot hear me from the inside. Turns out this was his land, like his family land, like the grandmother, the family owned this place. And he just started beating me. And at that point, I'm thinking, because I used to work out and all that, let me try and fight my way out of it. But that didn't happen. I was beaten a good one. And I was just wondering, what is this? Like, I'm just in shock, you know? And he tore my clothes, he stripped me, and the next thing I know, he just raped me. And of course, because this man is holding a knife, and I'm just thinking, oh, he might slit my throat or he could stab me. I don't know what could happen. I just surrendered. And at some point now, I'm just willingly giving myself. And he just assaulted me, and disgustingly, I think and I believe every little dirty fantasy he had of me, every time he'd see me, he got to just actualize. And he seemed to be dead, you know, in his eyes. It's as if he just had no feeling at all. It's as if he wasn't connected into the human self, to realize or even see that I'm somebody's child, and that what he's doing is not only wrong, but spiritually demonic on every level. And I cried, I just cried. And I remember just telling God in that moment, I don't know what I've done. I really, really don't think I've treated anybody badly. I've never disrespected or hurt people intentionally for me to deserve this kind of treatment. But if today is the day that, you know, I leave this earth, just make it painless. I think I'm more scared of how I'm going to die rather than death itself. You know, am I going to suffer through it and all that? And I thought he was going to kill me. I wasn't sure he was going to let me go, because obviously he thought if I let her go, she's just going to go report me. Then these are issues. And he just began a very weird cycle for hours where he sleeps with me, does all these nasty things, and then he'll just sit naked and light a blunt. And that is why I do not like weed at all, because that smell, it just triggers me and takes me back to that moment. And he's lighting this blunt, smoking the weed, and then the man starts crying. And I'm just wondering, what kind of psychotic madness is this? So he starts crying and he's telling me, you know, Chantel, nobody loves me. I'm all alone in this world. You know, you put together, you have a life. I have nothing. And I really believe that the Holy Spirit was the one walking with me and guiding me through that process, because I strongly felt that this man doesn't need me bashing him or fighting him or trying to like point fingers and make him see what's happening now is wrong. But probably he needed encouragement. He probably needed, you know, some love or whatever it was, you know, just some empathy. And I empathized with him. And I was seated there naked, you know, both of us naked. And I'm literally trying to like rub his back and just tell him, it's okay, you're not alone. You know, life happens to people. I've also been through stuff. Whatever it is, you can get past it, you know? And then the moment he's done smoking that blunt, it's as if he snaps and he's a completely different person. And this person is choking me and just choking me to the ground and continues, you know, doing all these things to me. And again, I'm back to feeling less relaxed and more afraid and just crying and trying to not show too much fear, but I can't help the tears. And I'm thinking, I just hope my brother, if I die right now and nobody finds my body or nobody knows what happened to me, I hope he doesn't ever think that I just abandoned him. And my brother was the one person going through my mind. But at the same time, I'm telling God, you know, if you get me out of this, Aki God, Yani, I am going to really, really get my life together. And that is a promise I was making so consciously and very strongly. And I'm begging God, I'm like, please, you know, I'm even using the word at that point. I'm like, the Bible says, ask and it shall be given to you. And I'm just asking you, Yani, I'm not even asking for anything else. Please, my life for my brother, just get me out of here safe. And so this went on for hours. He had made it very clear he wasn't going to let me go. He psychotically and, you know, was in this frame of mind where he believed that I was destined to be his wife. And when I asked him why he was doing it, he reminded me of that incident when he called me to invite me to the concert and me saying no. And apparently that's why he was so bitter with me. So he was calling me a prostitute, telling me, you know, even people in the hood say you just sleep with your father. I don't know, you're just a whore. You sleep with white men for money. You lie to people that you make music. We don't even know your songs out here. Why are you not famous? Why aren't you, you know, out here being known like the Sanaipei Tandes and all that? But how am I going to start explaining to that person that the jazz industry that I'm in, which is a different market, is not the typical music you'll hear out here? And so he called me all these names and was just like, you know what, you deserve this because, you know, si unaendanga ukipeana tu. If you are selling it to all these men, I will take it as well. And miraculously, my phone starts ringing. And so I tell this guy, if you don't let me go, please understand that if they trace my calls, they're going to realize that you're the last person that I spoke to. And so you're going to be in trouble. So just let me go. Let's forget that this happened. And I promise you that I'm never going to repeat a word of this to anybody else. He wasn't so convinced initially, but he finally allowed me to, you know, pick the call. But now what was going to happen is he picked the phone call and told me, don't say anything stupid or I'm going to finish your brother. And I'm going to burn that whole family in that house at night while they're sleeping. And clearly, by the time you're telling me that in this situation, I believe you because I know you're mad enough to do this. I don't know what more you're capable of. And so he picked the phone call and was holding it to me while I was talking. And so I tried to compose myself. I told the producer, I'm sorry I'm running late, but I'm going to be there in 20 minutes. Just give me 20 minutes. And I said 20 minutes because he knew that I was never late for sessions and I was good with time. So if I wasn't there in those 20 minutes, he should be able to figure something was wrong. And anybody who worked with me, I believe, knew very well my job was very sacred to me. If I don't show up, because even when I'm sick, I'm still pushing and coming. So if I don't show up, it must be something serious. So he put the phone, when the phone call ended, he just put the phone right next to me. And I don't know what this man was doing until today. He walked to the corner of the house and literally I was just bending from what I can remember because it all happened so fast. And I don't know what he was doing because he stayed there for a while. And I picked my phone. I was shaking so much. And I texted that guy, the producer. I just wrote, been kidnapped. That was all. Sent the message and put the phone back. And this guy came, continues with the madness, the shenanigans. And at that point now, I'm past crying and begging for my life. I'm just lying there. I'm like, whatever it is what it is. My only worry now is I don't know this man's HIV status because he's not using protection. I don't know if now I'm going to get the chance to get treatment so that I don't fall pregnant or sick. And also spiritually, we are able to, if people have more education on it, there's something, we're told about soul ties. And you don't know how many demonic entanglements, you have with this one person and what's happening in that moment. So those were the things running through my mind. And so when the guy got the message, he kept calling and calling. And so I tried to compromise or get this guy to have a compromise. And I told him, you see, they're calling, they know something is wrong. Just let me go. And he thought about it, then finally decided, Sawa, I'll let you go. But this conversation doesn't happen out of here. I was like, cool. Because all I'm thinking is not even studio now. I need to go to hospital. So in the moment of me rushing, I'm trying to grab my clothes and everything. He's like, hey, dress up the way you were when you came. So now I have to compose myself, get my underwear, put it on, get my bra, put it on, take my top, my pants, calmly as if nothing has happened. And all I'm thinking is he doesn't change his mind. And after giving me all this nonsense about how I'm going to live there and give him babies and I don't know, do A, B, and C, I'm just thinking, please, I hope it's not another episode. Then he tells me, no, you're not going anywhere. So finally dress up, then he opens the door. And when he opened the door, the first thing I felt the Holy Spirit put in my heart is, Shyro, do not run. And I guess the reason behind that, God knows what's going to happen. He knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. When I walked out and I got to the gate, just walking calmly and silently, turns out this man had locked the gate and put 3-4 padlocks, on there. So had I tried running, I might have given the impression that I was running to the cops or to report him. So it was good that I tried to stay composed and not scared. Then he opens those padlocks and there's no way I could have been able to jump. Then we get to the stage. He'd insisted he was going to take me still with his bike to the studio, but I was like, no, it's okay. Let me take a matatu. We got the stage. He ensured that I took a matatu towards Karen, not Ngong, so that I don't go to the police station. And then while at the stage, he asks me for my PIN, M-Pesa PIN, and he M-Pesas himself the cash that I had. And I didn't realize that was a good thing at the time because that was proof, And a matatu comes and just say goodbye. I get on the matatu. And sometimes I think about the people who are in that matatu seeing us standing there and having no idea that, this is like a situation where, there's a villain here and a victim and this person needs to be locked up. But the moment I entered that matatu, I fell in between the aisle and I wept. I started screaming. First, I felt like I could breathe, but at the same time, I'm choking. It was just a mix of so many things. I just cried, and this man came and lifted me and placed me on the seat and was like, Madam, uko sawa? Are you okay? And I'm shaking and I'm trying to explain to him, please get on my phone and look for a number saved as so-and-so. Tell him that I need to go to hospital. Something bad has happened to me ASAP. And so this guy did just that. call the person, and the person he called was a colleague of mine and somebody I used to work with and under a lot. And I thank God for this person, because this was also somebody who carried me through a lot of this season of life with all these crazy things happening. And he was the one person I trusted to be able to tell about this, you know, with the shame and the shock. And when we got to Karen, this guy, the guy that had been called, my colleague, told the guy in the matatu, bring her to Junction. Let her alight at the Junction Mall. I'm driving there. I'll get her and pick her from there. So the plan was to take me to Nairobi Women's Hospital. And so when we get to Karen, when the matatu stops at the stage to pick more people, guess who's following me on the bike? This same guy. In fact, he literally like rode past the side of the window where I was at, and he had the audacity with his silver tooth to like smile at me and salute me. And when he saluted me, in that moment, till today, it kind of just gives me shivers, because I knew, you know, I'm past dealing with a rapist and a kidnapper. I'm dealing with a psycho. And this man is not just going to let me go just like that. This is an obsession. And the matatu took off. We got to Junction. I alighted. My friend picked me up, put me in the car. I could barely talk or do anything. We rushed to Nairobi Women's in Hurlingham. I got treated. You know, they took all these samples of me, put me on medication, you know, give me the P2. They put me on ARVs, because of course we don't know his HIV status, and I was to be on that for a month. And they took my clothes, tested me, all these things. And they asked me like, okay, we need to write a statement and report. But I was so quick to say no. And the reason being, I was scared for my brother. And also this family. I might not have a relationship with them, but I'm not a heartless person, knowing that somebody could harm them, and I'm ready to just allow that. So I was basically trying to protect them. And so I said no. But my friend was smart enough to like talk to them on the side and was like, if she doesn't report, just keep the samples. I'm sure if she changes her mind, we can still go forward with it. So I'm treated, it's time to leave. I'm scared, I can't go back home. So what's the plan? My friend has this cousin who has a place around the same area. So let me get you a place to stay at my cousin's place, since he's not really around much. And while we're leaving the hospital, guess who again is literally parked outside the hospital, just chilling on his bike? The same guy. And I had so much anxiety. I was panicking. I'm crying. Now I'm like, what kind of life is this? This man will not let me live in peace. And so I lived at this cousin's place, the cousin to my friend, his place, for about a month. For a month, I tell you, I was scared to even open the curtains. I was scared to step out. I never went out. I was scared to do anything. I had panic attacks in the middle of the night. I would have sleep paralysis. It was just a lot. And then I had no idea that it was PTSD, you know? We ended up just, you know, finding that situation convenient for me to just hide for a while, until one day I found the audacity to just say I'm going home to pick some clothes and, you know, just get a few things. And it's as if this man just would sniff me from somewhere, because the moment I got off the mat and I'm walking, you know, down the road to head home, he just appeared out of nowhere. But this was about 3 p.m. and there were people on the road. I screamed. I screamed so badly, he just sped off. And in that moment, I knew this is crazy. I need to actually report this man. The only people I'd told so far were my friend who took me to hospital. Of course, his cousin, who's a lawyer, knew what had happened. And a producer friend of mine, not the one I was going to see on that day, but a different one. And an artist friend of mine called Calvo Mistari. And, you know, those are the few people. And Calvo kept, insisting and advising me, I need you to go and report this because this man sounds, dangerous. There's also a different friend that I'd told about this, and this guy, he's such a thug in regards to like how he lives life, hip hop and all that. And what he'd suggested to me was, you know what? I know somebody who knows somebody that smokes people. By smoking, we're talking about, putting them down. And so this other person had suggested, how about I connect you to this person and, he can take him out. Very simple. From the way it sounds, it's as if the guy doesn't have anybody who'd miss him. So if he died, what's the harm? You'll have peace of mind. And I guess that's why I knew my limits. That was one of the incidences that tested, me and my boundaries. And I do not have it in me to carry anybody's blood in my hands. I didn't have the guts to do it. It would have been simple, it looked simple that I should just say, yeah. And they weren't even gonna charge me. He was telling me, you're my girl, like, and this is my boy, like, I can have him do it for you for free. And even introduced me to that person, and I had a conversation with them on phone when, the guy wanted to know what really happened in the story. But I didn't have it in me. And I told the person, no, this is not the way. He'll be gone, but I'll be left without peace of mind knowing that I took another human being's life. I don't think it works like that, that you hurt me, then I hurt you. It seemed like I'll create bigger issues for myself. And so I decided, I'm gonna take up Calvo Mistari's offer and report. So I went to the DCI offices, the next day in Kajiado Ngong. I met a wonderful, wonderful officer, the head DCI at the time, and he listened to the story, and I explained to him everything. And this man was such a father. Again, that's another destiny helper, I believe, was brought my way. And he empathized with me and just told me, man, you're my daughter's age. At this age, what business does a man have doing something like this to you? As a woman, your age, you're supposed to be thriving, trying to build yourself and being surrounded by healthy men who will mold certain things in you so that you can be a wife one day. But these are things creating trauma. You can imagine. So I got into his car. He called out the other cops. I'm telling you, it was a movie. We fuatanad with a whole convoy. I'm in his car, tinted windows because I'm scared. We get to the shopping center where he operates from. That's Juanco. And the cops come out, they're dressed in civilian, and then some of them were in uniform, and they go to where he's at. And so this guy, the first thing he did when he saw the cops was say that, najua ni huyo bibi yangu amewatuma. I know it's that wife of mine who sent you. No remorse at all. And so they just pick him, put his bike on the cop, whatever, Land Rover, and we go back to the station. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want any contact with him. I was scared of him, of course. And when we get to the station, I'd written my statement and all that. He's put in, and they didn't even have to rough him up much or do much because the man just admitted to what he had done to me. He admitted to knowing me, to what he had done and all that. And I guess maybe that's also where the psychosis came in, because he did initially, then again, he doesn't. So, but he'd already admitted to what he did. And we began a court battle. And it was a very difficult season, of course, because I have nobody supporting me. When people found out about what happened to me in my community, it gave them even more reason to attack me, where people would say that, you know, that girl, she says she's just a musician. You see the way these musicians dress. Maybe it's the way she dresses when she's performing. Maybe it's the way she carries herself that she was enticing that man. That even when my family, my step family found out about this, my heart was so broken when my dad asked me that question, because I never imagined my own father would ask me, are you sure you weren't enticing him or misleading him? And you know, I'm not trying to look down on anybody, but let's be realistic. There's something about beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, and everyone has a type. And my dad, if he was serious for one moment, could literally look at this man and look at me and just see we're two different people from two different worlds, you know? And there was nothing that we had in common or anything. So it was hard that this has happened to you, and people are still looking at you as the bad person, you know, finding reasons to blame you. Probably she is really a prostitute. And there was no support there. One of my step brothers, in line, he would be the one who follows me age-wise, was at his mother's boutique shop, and this man who had assaulted me had the audacity to come to that shop and bring my earphones that had fallen in his house when he was roughing me up. So already now this brother of mine has proof that he can be a witness in court that, hey, this guy brought these earphones and said that they were left when I was in his house. But of course he hadn't told him exactly what happened. And so I asked, you know, the officers asked me whether my stepbrother was willing to be part of my case and be my witness. My colleague at work was already a witness, testifying to, you know, taking me to hospital, being accountable for me on that day. But there was no support from family. There was, of course, some level of being shunned on and looked down on by people around me. And depression just kicked in. And of course, because of shock, PTSD, trauma, I just started drinking, you know, to cope. Now, previously, I wasn't really a drinker. I'd never really been a drinker because of my past with my mom and watching that. And so I'd be the person preaching to people about why, you know, alcohol is bad, blah, 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 blah. But then I got into spaces where once in a while I'd tried, you know, wine here, a beer here, but I never liked alcohol. The taste was just bad. I never understood what it was about this thing that, you know, people liked. But, oof, I will never forget that first bottle of vodka, you know, coming from not really having an alcohol palate to somebody handing me, someone that was my best friend at the time, a bottle of vodka, and I downed that vodka. Let me tell you, that feeling I will never forget. It felt as if, you know, when you have a flu and your nose is blocked, your chest is blocked, and finally you can breathe. And it's as if I could finally exhale. And I was like, this feels wonderful. This feels good. When I drink alcohol, now I feel less scared. Now I can walk the streets. I can go to court while I'm high, and instead of being scared of this man, I can have the courage to look him in the face. I have the courage to walk the streets, because now you can imagine after this, I was scared of men. I was scared of even women, you know. I could come visit you right here, but I promise you, I am not sitting here. I'm sitting close to the door, so that if, you know, the going gets tough, I have an easy way out. I was very conscious of the little things that I never was before. It's as if I started seeing life from a different dimension. And so when I would drink alcohol, I would be more calm, more settled. I had incidences where I would walk the streets of Nairobi, and because of panic attacks and anxiety, I would literally lose my breath. I would collapse. I wake up in somebody's shop or stall, and people are just telling me, hey, madam, you collapsed on the road, and people are wondering what's up. Then someone asks you, are you pregnant, or are you this or that? But it's just panic attacks. And the worst thing about it is nobody understood it.